Hi, I'm Val, and I have started this amazing place, and I'm calling it Camp Wonder Wander, for creativity workshops, women's retreats, crafting retreats, and a residency program under an umbrella of the name Sarasvati, which is the Hindu goddess of wisdom, art, nature, and music as a muse. But basically, Camp Wonder Wander is something that I have recently opened, and I want to introduce JT Taylor.
Hello.
So JT is a friend of mine who lives in Florida, and she has a doctorate in
English literature.
English literature.
Well, technically early modern and early American literature.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've been friends for a long time, and because we don't live in the same city anymore, we follow each other on social media, and she's like crazy active on social media, so I like
I'm
know
digitally.
what she's doing all the time, which is amazing.
I check in everywhere I go.
Yeah, you do. So last summer, or even before last summer, last year, JT made a post on Facebook and said, I'm really frustrated that I haven't had time to do my own thing. I'm teaching and I'm doing all this work, but I really need a chance to write. And I said, I typed on the post, I said, come to the camp. And so what was that first experience like?
You posted on there, it was a comment, and she said, why don't you come to the camp? And she had mentioned the camp before on another one of my posts. And, I kind of was like, and I don't know, like at first I was kind of like, I don't know, that's an idea. And then I think it was only hours later, I think it was just hours later, my partner Thon and I were in a store, and I said, hey, did you see Val invited me up to the camp? And he said, you should go. And then I decided, like, on a dime, I messaged Val, like, I immediately went, you're right, I need to get writing done. So I immediately messaged Val. I had a plane ticket within 24 hours of that message.
Yeah. So we coordinated that, and you came up for about a week last summer.
Yeah, 9 days, 2 days for travel.
So let's kind of just summarize what that experience was, because, I don't know if it was the first time you've ever had like an opportunity to do this after grad school, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And I know that we have a lot of pressure on ourselves on being creative, and you're like, I have a week and I know I need to get something done. So maybe you can kind of explain what your goals were last year, and like, was it hard for you, or?
Well, that's what's interesting. I went up there, and my goal at the time was I was writing a book. I wanted to write a book. I wanted to write a memoir. And I wrote, within those 7 days, about like over 60 pages of text. And just to explain the experience of that, I went up expecting to get some things done. I wasn't really sure how much I would get done, because I didn't know what to expect from myself, but what was interesting is that I got up there, and it wasn't a matter of like conscious decisions to create a certain amount of material, like there wasn't like, I was working on a deadline, or that I felt you need to write this many pages, there wasn't that. And I wound up writing for hours every single day. And it was just bizarre, because I had been wanting to write this memoir for years, and the concepts were in my head and everything, and I sat down and I wrote the memoirs, or I wrote this huge chunk of the memoir. I came away from it later, though, understanding that, I need to break it up and make it into essays, but that's another story. But I got over 60 pages done in 7 days, and that was more than I created in the years since I graduated.
Yeah, it was great, because, I remember you had your first day or your schedule or something, and you're like, I got my coffee, and I sat down, and I'm like,
it was
excellent.
Weird.
It's so great.
It was weird.
Yeah. So I feel like last year was like really just a rewarding experience for both of us, and we were able to um, you know, have dinner together and chat about your, so as a creative person, you can't be on all the time, right? So
Right.
like it seems like you understood your productivity and you were able to sit down during the morning and the middle of the day,
Yeah.
and then by the end of the day you're like tapped out,
Yeah.
ready to just like chill.
Well, that was another thing that was interesting, that this past time, I actually made a video about it. This past time, I was so frenetically kind of productive in this trip that I just got back from, that I actually had to ask myself, am I tapping myself out? Well, last year, there wasn't like a moment where I wondered, am I tapping myself out? Which is interesting because my dissertation tapped me out, and I couldn't go back to the topic anymore. But the whole time, it's just there was no too much.
Yeah. So what's kind of cool is we go about our daily lives and we do all these things and we're like, I wish I had time to do this. I wish I had to. So our brains are processing it, and then all of a sudden, when you're like, okay, brain, here's our time. It was like I'm in action, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to cook and eat together.
Oh
and,
yeah,
and talk
the
about
wonderful
the creative
dinners
process.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and it was talking about the creative process, but also Val is just a really good friend. So
Yeah.
conversation is just, we have great conversations.
Yeah.
So Val is, I mean, maybe that's part of your university self.
I think so.
We're both professors.
Well,
we talk.
Yeah, I mean that we've known each other, but still,
True,
like I
true.
can meet strangers and
True.
have conversations with them too. Because as a professor in a creative field, you have to ask questions a lot,
Yeah,
right? You have to talk and you have to do all those kinds of things. So
do you want me to talk about my experience?
yeah,
Okay.
so like almost a year goes by, and then all of a sudden I get this message like
exactly a year.
Was it exactly?
Exactly.
Okay.
When I was up there, Facebook was pulling up memories, and I had been there.
I know, but like right before you booked the trip, right?
Oh,
it was like,
no.
So anyway, I get this message like, Val, I'm coming back, and I'm gonna come for 2 weeks. I'm like, yay! So we coordinated a schedule, and we did the whole thing, and I'm like, just tell me when you want to come, and let's do it. So, which was, you just got back Tuesday, right? So we just went through this experience for the second time.
Friday. I got back Tuesday night late.
Yeah. So this time it was a 2-week with including your travel days.
Yeah, including my 2 travel days.
So did you have some expectations that were different than last year? Do you think you had too much pressure on yourself, or
no?
why don't you talk about that a little bit?
All right. Well, I'm gonna be a little bit long-winded here, so just bear with me. But I had my intention when I went up there was to write these essays I was speaking about a few minutes ago, when I said that the memoir was really going to be a series of essays that I would publish separately and perhaps pull together as one book later, because that really just made more sense, because the thing would have been like this. So I went up there this time expecting to write those essays, and I mean, one of the other things I do is I sing, and I'm very into music. And there was an album I had started to work on back in 2010, and I just never did it.
Which I didn't know about.
Yeah, you didn't even know about that.
Okay.
But I thought, I had like one song from it. I'd been trying to work on it. I don't know. I just didn't. I had plenty of time. I don't know why I didn't. I just didn't. But I kind of just thought last minute when I was packing, just bring your microphone. I have a blue microphone. I wish I had it here to show you. It just bring the blue, just in case the song comes into your mind. I packed it and I went up there. The first day I wrote an essay, and I was like, cool. Second day I wrote about 3/4 of an essay. Friday I kind of thought to myself, okay, and I didn't feel very well. I was like, okay, well, what's happening? And then I felt crap. I think it was a kombucha.
I heard you shoot a kombucha.
And I drank that. And then, I don't know, it was so weird. I kind of went in the bedroom and plopped down with my iPad expecting to just watch YouTube videos. And this, song came out of nowhere. And it was a song that I had, maybe one verse to or something. And I just sat down and I wrote the entire song, and I recorded a version, and then 3 total versions of one song within the course of the late morning to early afternoon. Um, yeah, I went straight through, skipped lunch, didn't eat lunch until like 2 o'clock, and did that song. And so I thought to myself, well, that was a strange experience. Then we went into Nashville. This is the
Yeah.
other. This was
Yeah.
an impact, so I feel like I should include it.
Okay.
We went into Nashville and we saw a band called Guilty Pleasures, and we saw them play. And I just remarked, just sort of half in my head, just I was looking at them up on the stage. I was like, wow, they look like they're having a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
They look like
They
this
were.
is. They look
They
like
do.
this is a really
Yeah,
rewarding
they
experience.
do.
And I thought, well, it would be pretty cool to be up there. You know, went completely out of my mind. And the next morning, you know, it was 2 hours outside of Nashville. We crashed at 2:30 a.m. I slept until 10:30, and I was exhausted. But I got up and I wrote 2 songs. And to make a long story short, that's what the rest of the trip was like.
Yeah.
It was just song after song, and I hit 5 songs, and I thought, maybe I'm done. And then I hit 7 songs, maybe I'm done. 8 songs, maybe I'm done. And then I hit a few days before we left, and I thought for sure I was done because we had plans. And that was at 9 songs. Well, that Sunday I wrote 2 more. So I walked away with 11 songs, multiple versions of each of these songs. That's how much work I did in 12 days. So I went up there intending to write essays for like literary stuff and wrote a whole album instead that I'd been trying to write since 2010. Now I have an entire album.
Yeah, it's exciting. But
yeah,
you know what?
It's very exciting.
I think that we were just talking about this, and it makes me think about, so I've coined the term Wonder Wanderful and named this camp space Wonder Wander. So the creative process, you cannot control it, right?
Yeah.
You put something in the back of your head for 8 years or more, right? Yeah. And then you're giving yourself permission to take 2 weeks, and your brain's like, ha ha ha, I got something for you. We're gonna wander over here and wander over there, right? And it's so fascinating, the creative process, right? Because you can't force yourself. That's work, right? Work is journalism or typing and doing student work and writing essay. Like, oh my God, I have a deadline, right? The creative process is like, I drank some kombucha for the first time ever, and all of this like stuff like wells up out of you, and it was just like this like permission to go there.
Well, I think one of the things that I really didn't have to struggle with was giving myself that permission.
Yeah.
Because when the song came out, I didn't go, if I actually did. Actually, I did have a moment where I was like, I'm not writing any essays. This is
you did. Yeah,
that wasn't.
You were like,
that wasn't my goal.
To write an essay a day.
Right, and I was like, is this failure? And I actually asked that at first, and everybody was like, what the hell, no. So then after questioning it for maybe like a day or something like that, I just decided, okay. I mean, when the songs just kept coming and coming, I was like, okay, it looks like this is what I'm gonna do when I'm up here. So just go with it,
Yeah. So you had the moment of presence where your brain was like, I've got a trick up my sleeve.
Exactly.
And you took the microphone with you. So so like taking don't you think that most people are like, oh, that's not for me, I'm not gonna, like we question like our value, our worth as a creative person, right? Yeah. Like my time, or my time away, or I've got other things that are holding me where I live that I can't give myself the time to do that, right?
Right.
So we have that element of it, and then we also have this like pressure to accomplish some sort of goal. And I think the idea of a retreat and a residency type of thing is maybe not to have so much structure to it, that maybe you have a couple of ideas and you let something like that happen.
Yeah.
So, because, you came up and you're like, I'm going to write an essay a day.
I'm going to
I'm
get
like,
these things
okay.
published.
And then I'm like, how's it going?
Well,
and then you were frustrated, and then the music thing happened. And I'm like, this is awesome. So, you know, part of maybe what we want to talk about too is just kind of, you know, the physical arrangement. Maybe do you want to share like what that was like for you? I mean, no one else was around during your
no, yeah, I didn't have anyone there.
retreat.
Let me just inject, by the way, that one of the reasons I hadn't done the album was that I was too scared that I wasn't a good enough singer. And when I was up there, I just let myself sing into the microphone. I said, if this sounds like crap, it's just going to be, I'm going to get the song down. I turned out to sing much better than I expected.
Nice.
So the space.
Nice. And I haven't heard these, so it's okay.
Yeah. Well, they're rough cuts.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
they are. But the space itself was great. You know, last year when I went up, I had no idea what to expect. You know, I just knew it was out in the rural part of Tennessee, and I kind of got there. I remember thinking, this is really pretty. And as I was walking up there, I didn't know what to expect when I got inside. But she opened the door and I walked inside and I was like, wow, this is super nice. Like, it's well designed. I mean, and it's large. You know, it can sleep 7 people. Of course, when I was up there, it was just me, you know. And I had the master bath to myself, so, you know, I could use the Lush Bombs. But, you know, the space was great. And then having Val in the big house where I could go up and have a conversation if I needed a break was good. So, but yeah, the space is great. I mean, the bed was cool. One of the things that happened to me that may happen to you when you go up there is that because there are no things like street lights and that kind of stuff, or if I didn't turn on like the living room light, would be completely black. Complete black. But the reason I mention it is because I started kind of falling into a rhythm where sun goes down, I start to fall asleep, and I crashed super early because the sun went down, and then I started moving with the flow of the sun going down and coming up, which I have a lot of sleep problems. And I thought that was really interesting because now that I'm back the past couple of nights, I am now back at the kind of mercy of my old sleep schedule now that I'm here.
Sorry.
No. You know.
Now that you're here. Well, there's a really good book that I want to mention as a break that I read a few years ago. It's only, I think, 80 pages or 90 pages. It's a Japanese philosopher at the turn of the century when they were struggling with the modern things happening, right? Modern lights, modern world. And he wrote this book called In Praise of Shadows, I think. And it talks about those things of like this kind of unnatural light and the natural light, or the shadows and things. And that is a book that I really, you know, 4 or 5 or 6 years ago read. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is something that I started to kind of disconnect from this like city experience and all of these things, this artificial lighting that we do,
the stimulus.
And the stimulus. And at one point I also tried to like say, okay, at like 8 o'clock I'm not watching TV, I'm not, you know, no screens and stuff. It's hard. We are screen based, but you know, that motivation to provide that space for someone. You know, I painted the walls a really nice gray on purpose. It's
There's
not
a place where you can write on the wall.
Yeah, so it's soothing enough to provide for a good sleep schedule. We had dinner, you know, that was an option for us. It's not like a mandatory thing for other people. No. There's a kitchen that people can use.
We're going to do it because we want to eat and talk.
Yeah, so we like, you know, we scheduled a time. We had dinner around 5 or 6 every day, and then we would chit-chat, and then the sun would go down, and then I'm like, I got to go do my, you know, evening chores with the chickens and stuff like that. So do you think that it was difficult or easy to fall into that rhythm of that darkness and sleeping and getting up in the morning? And was it like that, or
it was like
the second day,
maybe like the second or third day, like because my old sleep schedule was kind of still there. But it started with the first night. The first night I crashed earlier, and I assumed it was because she's on Central Time.
Yeah.
But when I woke up the next morning, I thought, it's still early for me on Eastern Time. And after a couple
Yeah.
of days, I remember one night crashing at 9:30.
I know. I go to bed really
9:30.
early. It's nice. I sleep really well out there too. It's
Yeah.
like it's a good deep sleep. It's not there's not a whole lot of other sounds and
Yeah.
the darkness is it's not as dark as Colorado. I mean, you can see some stars, but it's not
Oh, the
it's not as
fireflies
like
too.
and fireflies and stuff. Okay. I can't think of any
you
other
done?
questions.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. So
yeah. Okay. So, thank you so much for sharing.
yeah.
Is there anything else?
Thank you
that
so much for letting me stay
Is
at the
there
camp.
anything else that you want to talk about before we close?
No, I would just simply say that genuinely, wholeheartedly, 100%, no pretension, I would say go there. And I would say when you get there, allow yourself to be free, open up your mind, allow Val's creative kind of presence to kind of move the way you think, because when I was up there, I was really in a different, mental space. So,
Yeah.
I highly recommend it, and I would say, once Val starts putting together her workshops, or even if you just want to go up and work on your own project, it just was really, it was astounding how much work I got.
You gonna come back again?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm probably gonna be up there next summer. So
yeah, awesome.
So,
so maybe we can coordinate like a different kind of experience when there's more people around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's a way for people to be solo. They can reserve a space and not, like just tell me you don't want anyone around. I'm very open to that. But yeah, I've had years and years of experience of talking to people about their work. And I don't believe as a coach you interject your own theories, philosophies, style on someone. It's more about asking the kind of questions to kind of pull them out, or just kind of giving them the space to be able to do that, and being a sounding board for to just kind of summarize the day, right? I'm not there to
I guess that's what
pressure
we did
you
during
or
our
anything.
dinners.
Yeah, so our dinners
did
were very
kinda-
much like what happened, and it was a way to kind of process it. And
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about it like that when I was up there, but that's really what I was doing in those dinners.
yeah, and there's like no judgment. There's
Yeah.
no like, you're gonna get, if you can't get what you're getting done, it's okay. Maybe there's something else. Do we need to take a break? So that's another thing. Like, if I have time, we did schedule in a couple other kind of more social things to kind of create a break.
To take a break, yeah.
Yeah, so as a coach in that artistic process, I'm there for you as well. Okay, so we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching. JT, thanks so much for coming.
You're welcome.
It was
Thank
great.
you for having me.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Bye.